In the context of Smash speculation, people argue a lot. There are people trying to be the voices of reason, people who are driven by emotions and/or biases, and people who just want to hear opinions without being attacked for their own. But no one really stops to think of what people, even those trying to be factual, do wrong when speculating, intentionally or not. In this video, I'll take a stab at those common trends and the context behind them. Firstly, let's look at the director's word as gospel. It's true that Masahiro Sakurai's word is a pivotal thing to follow when arguing, regardless of side. But there's that, and then there's using his word as absolute gospel, to try and set rules to follow. His word is applicable only to a certain extent, because it, like many things, is subject to change. It's not a permanent thing. People understandably don't like it when they're told such things as, "That's not how this thing works," or "This isn't what the team is looking for," when discussing things like character selection. We don't know exactly what happens in the minds of the developers, so why act like we do based on statements from one man? It gets grating when anyone on either side is forcibly reminded this as some sort of law. Now, that's not to say that using Sakurai's own words is a mistake. They enhance arguments, and can be used to back up or refute points when needed. But it does become a mistake when using it repeatedly, and in the worst of circumstances, it could even backfire on you. Let's follow up with something that nobody can argue. We all have biases. I have a certain character I'm biased for. You probably do too. Those who can reasonably separate those biases when debating, however, will likely have a better time when debating with others. Those who can't separate themselves may be shunned or constantly derided from their inability to think critically. What good is it trying to argue factually when stomping out those things that go against the bias? It almost invalidates an entire point. Objectivity is something to be valued when having arguments where a personal bias may be involved, regardless of the subject. Say, if person A really likes a character and vouches for them, and person B asks about certain flaws regarding how the suggestion is presented, maybe regarding some unfavorable circumstances about the character, then ideally, person A should be able to address said flaws to the best of their capabilities and understand where person B is coming from as someone who may not be as invested as person A is. If the other party can't be convinced of a stance, then showing them that one can recognize any flaws, correctable or not, in their own argument is enough to show a degree of objectivity. Moving on, this is a point we've gone over in the past, the echo chamber. When speculating, it's almost inevitable to become absorbed into the echo chamber wherever you discuss character selection, be it on a forum or on social media, and thus have a somewhat warped view of what's popular. The measure of popularity a character has is therefore somewhat unreliable when it comes to online fan bases, since said measure can usually omit the idea of a much more prevalent casual audience or simply a general gaming audience, who likely wouldn't be aware or wouldn't care of the opinionated thoughts of these echo chambers. Whatever data can be acquired regarding this would likely only reflect the opinionated or hardcore side of this as well. The most recent and notable example of this, of course, is the Smash ballot, with people voting on characters believed to be popular in online circles, followed by fan polls saying who people voted for. And these were in for an upset when Bayonetta came out of nowhere and spontaneously made the fans of these characters question everything they thought they knew, rationally or angrily. Even to this day, there are many unanswered questions about the ballot itself, which only adds to the unreliability of it all. Finally, a hugely divisive point when arguing: Sakurai bias. This commonly gets thrown around as an easy-to-use derision towards Sakurai for perceived favoritism for certain franchises, and it applies, much like his word above, to a certain degree only. If we want to look at a character who really showcases Sakurai's biases and personal tastes over strict importance or relevance, it's not one from Fire Emblem, Kirby, or even Kid Icarus. It's Little Mac of all characters. Sakurai has been open about his adoration for the original Punch-Out, and he's given Mac a number of special details other characters lack even in those 3 franchises we mentioned. He's mechanically unique even for this game. He has twice the alternate costumes as every other character. He even has a minor battle damage visual effect unique to him. But these things are good. They help make the character distinct and are things other directors probably would have ignored or not bothered to include. Or look at the beloved Temple stage. That was based entirely on Zelda 2, and how many other directors would have made a stage based on Zelda 2? In general, Sakurai is much less interested in highlighting his own or his favorite franchises as he is on focusing on what he thinks is important, and that's really the area where he differentiates from fans. He seeks historical and modern relevance, often de-emphasizing beloved characters because they're really only beloved by a certain demographic, and most of the guesses he's made as to the importance of series he's included have really paid off. Xenoblade and parent company Monolith Soft are important parts of Nintendo. Fire Emblem has only gotten more popular, and most of the characters from larger series have retained importance in their own right. More than anything else, he makes guesses about what is important, what best represents Nintendo's history, and that's usually been on the money. Custom Robo and Advance War didn't come back. King K. Rool hasn't shown up much again, and Golden Sun only got a minor contentious sequel. His odd choices like Wii Fit Trainer or the Ice Climbers represent unique parts of Nintendo history, while also being mechanically unique characters. So, Sakurai's biases exist. Sakurai bias, as a term, doesn't, not really. And if we want to understand what he's going to do or who he'll include, it's better to use a broader perspective. Now, something should be clarified at the end of this. These viewpoints are based on the types of comments that one can see from day to day if invested in Smash speculation, and they're more akin to analysis than anything else. I won't tell you how to speculate. If you wish, say whatever you want, but I'll tell you about the common threads you'll find, so you enter with a more balanced perspective in the end. Thank you for watching this video. If you enjoy content like this, follow us on social media, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and consider supporting us on Patreon so that we can remain ad-free. Take care and have a wonderful day.